Hey guys, what's up? It's Frank, and welcome back to another tier list. We're going to be taking a look at NFL quarterbacks today. Obviously, it's a very important position in football, and a good quarterback gives you a higher chance of success than one that is mediocre at best. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at all these guys at the bottom here and see what's up. Anyone that really hasn't had experience, Penix, McCarthy to be specific, they're going to go in a pretty low tier, not because I think they're actually bad, but just because I haven't seen enough from them to give them an actual ranking. So they're just going to end up down here in the basement. Flacco. I'd say he's been a solid B to C tier quarterback, and that's about it for Flacco. Mahomes. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, he's an S tier quarterback because he wins games. Now, I think to be an S tier quarterback, not only do you need to win games, but you need to look good winning them. A lot of his wins have been pretty stressful recently, and he said it himself. He wants to go into the fourth quarter of a game not needing to worry a whole lot like what the lines have been doing recently. So I think right now, because of his wins, I'll give him the A tier. But to be an S tier, he needs to, start putting up better numbers. Now, I don't have all the numbers of all these quarterbacks committed to memory. I just know that Mahomes, not very good right now. Tua. My one concern with him, it's like he's actively seeking out concussions. So I'm going to put him in the same tier as Flacco right now. Actually, no. Flacco's going to be C because I don't think that makes sense. Because obviously Tua worse than Mahomes, Flacco probably worse than Tua. Tua's pretty accurate for the most part. They just haven't had a whole lot of success this season, and he was out for a while with what we fear to be a season-ending concussion, if not career-ending. So I'm happy with that. Fields. I would say when he filled in for Russell Wilson, he played pretty well. Him and Flacco, similar tier, and then I guess we'll do Wilson at the same time here. I'll put him a tier above. He hasn't had a whole lot of games this year. Obviously, he's played, I think, maybe half the season, maybe less, maybe a little bit more. I'm not really sure. He's put up some decent numbers. He hasn't looked bad by any means, so I'm content with putting him in the B tier. Levis, this guy confuses me. I'm gonna be honest. He throws like one really nice touchdown per game and then doesn't do a whole lot else. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of put him in this tier as well. I just don't know. I haven't really seen any of his highlights because there haven't been a whole lot. So we're gonna go with that. Rodgers. I think he's probably maybe more of a C tier, but we're going to keep him in B. He's played so good throughout his entire career, and this just seems like I don't know what's going on, to be honest. He's got Devontae Adams now. He's got a great receiving core, and I think maybe they just really need to lock in if they want to see some more success throughout the remainder of the season. Daniel Jones. Well, unfortunately for him, he just got released. So while I don't think he's an F-tier quarterback, and while I think the Giants organization is just dysfunctional, he's not currently on an NFL roster, so he's going to go on F-tier for now. Bryce Young, he hasn't looked terrible the past couple weeks, but I cannot see myself putting him on the same tier as Justin Fields. So he's going to have to go D tier. DeVito, he's played like one game, so we're going to just keep both of those guys down there. Howell, he hasn't really played. Zappi, he hasn't really played. Taylor, I don't really think he's played a whole lot. Is anyone else we can just kind of get rid of right now? Smith. All these guys look like they've at least played some football games. Okay, Penix and McCarthy, they're both going to go down here as well. And I believe we're good to do the remainder of the list. Kirk Cousins, he's got his up weeks and he's got his down weeks. His top tier, 3-4 touchdowns. Low tier, no touchdowns. Falcons' offense, in my opinion, has been very inconsistent this year. But I'm going to go ahead and throw him in B tier. He's obviously a better quarterback than any of their other options. And I believe he beats out everyone in C tier by at least a decent margin. So we're going to go with that. Lamar, S tier. This guy has been magnificent this year. And if they didn't have him, I don't know where the Ravens would be at, to be honest. I don't think they would be where they are, obviously. He's such a dual threat, and I think he has a very solid chance to win another MVP award if he continues at the pace he's going currently. Next up, we got Jordan Love. He's been hurt a little bit. He's been, a little bit inconsistent, but I think he still deserves to be in this upper echelon of quarterbacks with the A tier. He's been good. He's like everyone else, that he's got his up weeks, got his down weeks, but I think A tier is where Jordan falls. Also, he was an okay fantasy quarterback for me for at least a little while, so a little bit of props for that. Next up, we got Purdy. He's currently injured, I think, dealing with a shoulder injury, and in his absence, the 49ers did not play very well. Shows he's a very, very important piece of their offense, but at the same time, their record has not been very good, even though they were really only missing Christian McCaffrey. They still had Deebo Samuel. They still had a lot of their key pieces. Ayuk, I know he tore his ACL, but they still had him for a while. And I don't like to put him in the tier of just being, oh, he's only a good quarterback because he has all these weapons, but it's kind of starting to look like that's the case. So for Purdy's sake, I hope he plays well moving forward, but I am a little bit concerned. I think he still has good potential, but I'm a little bit concerned, and that's why he's not in A tier. Stafford, I don't know what I think about Stafford. I think some weeks he gets sacked, he throws multiple interceptions, he loses a fumble here and there. He's turnover prone, but at the same time he's got a lot of veteran experience, and he does a decent job winning games, no matter what pieces he has playing for him. So I'd like to also put Stafford in B tier, but I would also like to say he's probably at the top of B tier. I'm not going to put him in A tier just because I think I'm trying to keep these top tiers exclusive. It's kind of what I'm trying to do. Until we get to Justin Herbert, in which case he's going in A tier. He's played very well despite having not very good receivers or running backs. There's I think they have 7 or 8 wins, and for a team who has Joshua Palmer, Ladd McConkey as their top 2 guys, Quentin Johnston, that's really impressive. And I think Herbert is a big piece of that. I think without him, they would really be at the bottom. He started to add a bit of a rushing attack to his game despite some of the injuries he's faced, so he's just really trying to be a leader. And I think he really deserves that A tier. This Wilson is not the same as this Wilson. We're going to go back to that because for right now I'm blanking on who this is. If this is Zach Wilson, then he's down here. I think that's Zach Wilson. I don't know. We're going to say that's Zach Wilson, and then he's in F tier. He hasn't played all year. Aiden O'Connell, C tier, moving on. Caleb Williams, C tier, moving on. I think that it's enough said. May, C tier. None of these guys have really done anything terrible, but none of them have been amazing. And it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. To be B tier, you have to be a good quarterback, and I don't think they are good enough quarterbacks to make it to this tier. Geno, we're going to go with B tier. I feel like I keep saying this. I'm sorry, it's kind of the same message over and over again, but up and down weeks. I mean, the Seahawks offense has been really hit or miss. Sometimes they hit their shots. Other weeks, it looks like a bit of a mess. So we're gonna go with B tier for him. I think he's a good quarterback. I believe, comeback player of the year 1 year, a couple years back, and he's really kept the Seahawks offense afloat after they traded away Russell Wilson. So props to him for that. We're going to go with B tier. Jaden Daniels, we're going to go with A tier. He's by far the best rookie quarterback that we've seen this year, and probably the best rookie quarterback that we've seen in a little while at least. Huge props to him for kind of getting the Commanders organization back on top, really. Basically resurrected them. So I can't say much more about it. And they should have won last week. They missed 2 extra points. I don't know how you let that happen, but when you miss 2 extra points and you lose by 1, pretty obvious where the difference was at. We're going to kind of go from the back here. Bo Nix, I think he started off the season pretty rough. He had negative yards per attempt or something for a week, or at least close to that. But he's really brought it back to life. So I think if he kind of keeps playing like that, he will be A tier, potentially by the end of the year, if they make it to the playoffs or he's a couple more really nice games. But I want to see consistency. He's had some big number games, and I think if he does that one or two more times, then he'll get bumped up. But for right now, B tier rookie QB, I think that's pretty solid. Baker Mayfield, I think he is underrated. I'm a Baker guy. I'm a Browns fan, and when he was on the Browns, I didn't dislike Baker at all. Sometimes I didn't like some of the throws that he was making, but I didn't dislike Baker. I think if he hadn't lost Mike Evans and hadn't lost Chris Godwin for multiple weeks, and Godwin obviously for the season, his numbers would be above and beyond what most of these guys are, and he's still pretty high in all those rankings. So for that reason, I think he's an A-tier quarterback right now. I think most people would probably put him in B, and some might even say C tier, but what I've seen from him, and given the fact that their offense has just kind of been decimated by injuries, I think he deserves that A tier. He's leading a team potentially to the playoffs that has lost so many important weapons, and I think he deserves credit for that. Dak might be controversial. I don't care. I don't like Dak. I think he's a C tier quarterback right now. Obviously, he's hurt. He's not playing anymore. When he was playing, he lost me a fantasy game because he wouldn't stop throwing to CeeDee Lamb, so he just kind of makes me mad. I know this is a bit biased. C tier, go be mad about it in the comments. I don't care. Josh Allen, S tier. He wins games, be it on the ground. And this is different from Mahomes winning games because Josh Allen is doing things a little bit differently. He's shown more promise, and he hasn't turned the ball over that much. I believe it was like week 8 or something when he threw his first interception of the season or something along those lines. He just hasn't turned the ball over as much, especially not as much as Mahomes. And holding onto the football in the NFL is very important. Winning the turnover margin is key to success, and I think for that he deserves to be in the S tier. He's led that offense to a pretty good record, despite losing Stephon Diggs to the Texans, which we're going to get to CJ Stroud next. And he deserves that S tier. Stroud, he's kind of disappointed me this year, I'm not going to lie. I think last year he would have definitely been in the A tier. Right now, I think he's, middle of B tier, something like that. This really isn't in order for B tier, but I think Stroud's somewhere around there. I think if he has the weapons, he has the potential to play better. He's just missed some throws that I think should be made, and it's been a little bit disappointing from my perspective. So B tier, I hope he gets better. I think they will likely make the playoffs this season, so I'd like to see how he does there. But for right now, I think he is a B tier QB. Derek Carr, this guy has frustrated me to no end. He makes great reads sometimes. He throws the deep ball well sometimes. He does a lot of things sometimes. And it all comes back to that consistency factor, and he just doesn't have it. Right now, I'd like to put him at the top of C tier because I think he beats out the rest of the guys in C tier. But just because of the inconsistency, despite having a lot of weapons, I know Olave's been hurt. Some other weapons have been hurt. But that's where I'd like to put him for now. Obviously, I think there's growth there. He could be B, maybe low A. Probably not, but maybe. I think he's a CB quarterback, and that just kind of fluctuates week by week. Obviously, sometimes he might be up here. Like weeks 1 and 2, he would potentially have been an S tier quarterback, which is crazy to say. But that's where he's at for right now. Sam Darnold. First 5 weeks of the season, this guy looked invincible. I mean, I think he was in the MVP running, and I don't think he is anymore because they've dropped some games that they should have won, and he hasn't played quite as good. I had him in fantasy a couple weeks, played great for me. I cut him. He just hasn't put up the numbers that I need to keep him as that quarterback. So I think because of how well he started, I think he's in B tier. His current play is probably a little bit closer to C tier, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and allow that little bit of a cushion that he built up from the earlier games to keep him in B tier. Obviously, I don't think he's low B. I think he's probably somewhere in the middle, but semantics. It's not whatever. Anthony Richardson. His effort kind of disappointed me when he pulled himself out of the game because he was tired. I don't think that's a good excuse. I don't think that's not acceptable. And I think he learned that, and he came back and he put up a really good offensive performance. I have a problem putting him over Joe Flacco, though. So I'm going to put him right next to Joe Flacco. I think, again, potential to be great. Potential to be a B tier. But I think he's turned the ball over a little bit. He is kind of like Tua in the regards that like it almost looks like he's searching to get hurt. He's taking some hits that I don't want a quarterback taking. So for that reason, we're going to leave him in C tier. Deshaun Watson. I don't know why I went to D tier. He is the bottom of the barrel. He will be the worst quarterback on this tier list. I don't care what anyone has to say about it. He is worse than Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, Tyrod Taylor, Zach Wilson, Bailey Zapp, Sam Howell, Michael Penix, and J.J. McCarthy. And this is after he was really good. He was on top of the league when it comes to quarterback play in that 2018, 2019 range after being drafted in 2017, along with guys like Mahomes. He was at the top of the league. Then he goes and has to miss a year or two because he can't behave appropriately. Like, I think part of being a quarterback is your off the field behavior because you need to be a leader in the locker room. Watson can't be a leader. We saw what happened. Jameis Winston. I know he's not in one of the boxes, but Jameis Winston, if I was grading him right now, he's a B tier quarterback. He's B tier. He's won some games and he's kept it close. Beat the Steelers on Thursday night. It was a great show for him. He needs to be some type of personality on TV. He deserves all the success in the world. He got LASIK. He can finally see now. Although sometimes it was a little bit questionable, to be honest, because he threw some questionable throws. So just imagine Jameis Winston is on here. Actually, I'll edit it in. He's going to be in B tier. So you can just visualize that. He's B tier. Watson, worst quarterback on the board. He's terrible. I don't know how the Browns allowed him to stay on as the starter for so long. He tore his Achilles. Sure, I feel bad for him, but like it's like a little bit of karma at this point. You couldn't play quarterback, and yet you're getting paid $230 million to play quarterback. I mean, it was just an embarrassment as a Browns fan to watch the same nonsense week after week after week. So I wish that instead of getting hurt, we had just cut him so that I wouldn't be able to say, oh yeah, like I'm happy he's not playing anymore and make it sound like I'm happy that he got hurt. But he's an F tier quarterback. I don't care. Trevor Lawrence. Just happy to move on from that. We're going to go ahead and say that T-Law is, he's CB. I think C tier kind of fits him this year. I don't really know what's going on with them. I feel like I've had higher expectations than what the Jaguars have been able to hit every single year. They have so many offensive weapons, and they just have not been able to do anything. So C tier feels appropriate. Joe Burrow. Now, they have not won games, but that's not his fault. I think Joe Burrow has done all he can. And we're going to throw him at the top of A tier. He can't be S tier because they haven't won the games. But he's done about as much as you can ask from the guy, and the defense has just consistently let him down. The Bengals, a lot of people are calling them super unlucky, and I would agree. They've had a lot of bad breaks. They lost to the Ravens by a single point, 34-35. Losing a game like that by 1 point, that's heartbreaking. Burrow has done all he can, and under most circumstances, it wouldn't be enough to have a winning record and to be, top tier. But something's just going on with the defense, with something that they're just not being able to win games. Jamar's frustrated. I think their offense is frustrated that the defense is not doing as much as they should be, and I would say maybe the same could go for Lamar, that the defense has just not been that good for the Ravens this year, but that's where they stand. I've left these three guys for last. Now, Goff, I think he's an A tier quarterback. Sorry, not S tier. A tier. I would say if he was doing exactly what he's doing now with slightly less offensive firepower, when you have Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, you have a Pro Bowl roster worth of an offense. Like, it's just the entire team can make the Pro Bowl. So for him to be doing what he's doing, I don't think is incredibly impressive when you have all that. If he was dealing with maybe one less guy, then I could say, S tier, and it's really because of him. But I think he's got so much that can compensate for any error that he were to make that it just doesn't matter. I mean, they're winning games by like 40-plus points sometimes, and they're putting up crazy numbers. So he's an A-tier quarterback. He's completed passes. He's gotten touchdowns. He's doing everything he needs to do. But I like him in A-tier over S-tier. Jalen Hurts. This guy just kind of annoys me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the tush push. Maybe it's just some inconsistency factors. But I like Saquon Barkley on the Eagles way more than I like Jalen Hurts on the Eagles. Something about him just annoys me. Now, I'm not going to let that hurt the rating. I think he's either top of B or, kind of lower A tier. I'm going to leave him in lower A tier. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I think he's too inconsistent to be up here with Burrow and some of these other guys. I think he fits in top of B or low A, and that just makes sense to me. Last up we have Kyler Murray. Now, I really have not seen anything out of him this year. I haven't watched a Cardinals game. I have hardly seen highlights, so I don't know. What I have seen is Marvin Harrison's fantasy numbers, and they have not been as impressive as I would have liked. Now, I'm not saying that that's all his fault, but I'm also saying that the Cardinals' offense in general has just not been that good. I don't remember what their score was the past couple weeks. I'll throw something on the screen, but I would expect more out of KM. So I think he's a B tier QB with the A potential upside and the C for the bad weeks, and just kind of averages to be B tier. I think he's above average, and I think they're going to continue to improve with the new coach. Got rid of Kingsbury. Maybe he's going to get off Call of Duty, and actually, he's paying attention better. So I think there's a much better culture in Arizona than there was before, which leads me to believe that he will have success in the future. But I'm happy to leave it there for now. Let me know what you guys think at the tier list in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you all for helping me to get to this 4,000 watch hour goal. That's what this video and all the minutes are going towards. We're looking to get monetized as fast as possible. So I do really appreciate you all sticking around. If you like the tier list, let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments about how I organize anything, also let me know. Again, these guys in the bottom tier, except for Deshaun Watson, potentially could be in D tier, could be a little bit high or something, but I just didn't really feel like digging into their stats and stuff. I know McCarthy showed some strengths, but I'm almost tempted to just for the sakes of this, we're going to go ahead and add a row here. Well, let's see. Yeah, we're going to add the row, and then we're going to go ahead and say terrible people. And then we're just going to do this. And I think we call it a day. I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. My morals don't feel like they've taken a hit by allowing Deshaun to be in the tier list. And, yeah, so have a great rest of your day. Please stay tuned for more, as I will be hopefully dropping a lot more content over Thanksgiving break. And I'll see you in the next one.